Hello, everyone, and welcome to the big show. This is Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Trading Academy. If you're a first time listener, thank you for stopping by. I am your host, Josh Lilquist, with my good friend and my good pal, and he is the one and the only Mr. Al Connickson. Al, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, Josh. How about you?
I'm always doing fantastic. It's always a good time doing the show on the financial markets, helping our listeners make smarter and more intelligent investing decisions. And that's what the market is all about, is being able to make smart investing decisions. And matter of fact, I was teaching a class last night, and a lot of people think the markets are gambling. Well, that
Right.
is true if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have steps or rules within that strategy, and then you're not making smart decisions. You're just guessing in the markets. So I want to discuss that today, how to make those smart investing decisions. As we know, our sponsor, Trading Academy, on their 28th year, teaching people just like you how to invest, how to get trade. Whether you're in the market for income strategies or it's 401k strategies, retirement, IRAs, whether you're brand new to the markets and don't know a stock from a stick, or you're a seasoned investor, but you're just looking for more consistency in those accounts. So they have strategies and techniques designed strictly. Al, as I mentioned, these markets, it's always fun to talk about it, but especially when markets are really at all-time highs.
Yeah.
Once again, you see the S&P 500 surpassing the $5,747 per on the S&P 500. NASDAQ hasn't gotten up to the all-time highs, but we're very close. It's surging again. The Dow Jones, this one also reaches all-time highs. But what's really interesting about this, Al, is you look at your quote-unquote safe havens or whatever that may be, but it's almost a little bit of the opposite. You got gold and silver also, with gold reaching
Yeah.
all-time highs. Silver not quite, but gold sitting around the 2,670 mark, depending on when you're listening to the show. As we know, this is show played all across the country and the world.
Yeah, typically
Silver,
those would be more inversely correlated.
you would expect that,
Right.
right? So that's the whole inverse correlation, and the safe haven when markets go down, those go up. It's kind of been the opposite. So you can't just guess off of that stuff. You have silver looking at around $32.15. So that's really been surging from about 26 back in August. So we're seeing some phenomenal opportunities in the markets. Bitcoin up to over 65,000 again. You have Nvidia, which is starting to surge back up again. So certain stocks are going up, but certain stocks are also going down. You look at some stocks that some people know about. You have, we'll say, I think one was, what was it here? I was just looking at it. Coles, I believe it was, hasn't been doing too hot. Down to $19 per share. And people still go use some Kohl's cash. So
Sure.
there's opportunities in up markets, and there's also opportunities in down markets. Let's discuss that today. What are some of the opportunities that you're seeing in multiple directions?
Well, there's always opportunities, Josh. It really doesn't make any difference what direction the market is going. I mean, this is an exciting market that we've been seeing. And this is the kind of market where you really want to take advantage of what's available. Boost your returns. Don't just take what's average, because at some point in time there will be a pullback in the market. You want to make sure that you're not impacted as much by that as a lot of people would be. But I think what we're seeing is an erratic, unpredictable market. And that means that more than ever, people have to know what they're doing. But if it's unpredictable, you need to find something that is predictable. And what is that? Because there's one thing that never changes and never has, and it never will. And that's what impacts price, or who impacts price. And if you can understand that, if you can follow that, what's going to happen is it's going to have you buying low and selling high. And everybody understands that that's what they should do. The strange, ironic thing is that the public does, for the most part, exactly the opposite.
Well,
So,
also, if you think about it, they're just buying every other Friday, especially in
well,
those retirement
with a
accounts.
retirement account, you are exactly. But people that go into the market, that we have. You just went over, the where the markets are right now. All the major markets, they're at all-time highs or near all-time highs, which means what? Well, typically when markets peak out, that could be the riskiest time for people to get in. And that's when we see a lot of the public that hasn't been in the market get into the market. So typically you're buying high. And if you use a proper strategy, it may actually kind of go against what you instinctually feel you should do.
Instinctually?
So, pardon me?
Instinctually?
Instinctually,
Okay,
yeah.
that's
You
a
heard
nice
that
one.
word before,
That's a
haven't you?
good one. I like that one.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad I threw that in there.
Thank you.
Uh, but what it means is that a strategy might have you doing the opposite of what you think you should do, in keeping it in simple terms. So when other people are buying, maybe the best thing to do would be getting ready to sell. When other people are selling, maybe the best thing to do is to be getting ready to buy.
And just
And who follows that? Who's a big name person that does exactly what I just said? It's Warren Buffett.
Buffett.
Warren Buffett will say, "Get
Uncle Warren, we
greedy."
call him.
Well, yeah, there's Uncle. Yeah, uh, get greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy, which is exactly what our strategy teaches you how to do. And let's just keep it simple and follow the people that are actually impacting price, because that's really the only important thing. If you are going to take a position, what we'll call a long position, you buy something, what has to happen to the price for you to benefit? It has to go up. And the inverse happens, the opposite happens when you're selling. You want the price to go down. Well, somebody's causing that to happen. If you can find who that is and when they do it, you have a huge leg up. You have the odds that take this out of gambling and make it something that is more reliable,
Yeah, which is a strategy.
which is a strategy.
And what Al is referring to as well is most people get into the market without that strategy and just hope things work out. And that's why sometimes people struggle. And if you're looking for that strategy, you're looking for more consistency, you need steps and odds and rules within between that. And then you just got to follow it. And that's one of the big things that Trading Academy teaches. We're a worldwide company. We're an academy local here in Bloomington, but we have offices and academies all across the world, most major city in the U.S. and a few different other countries as well. So teaching people just like you worldwide how to trade and invest, but most of have a strategy, becoming confident in the markets. So I want to invite you to be introduced to this strategy, be introduced to how the markets work, how they function, and how to make smart investing decisions simply by just coming into an investing class. So get your phones ready, because if you're driving, you might want to pull over. I'm going to give you a text number to text in for some tickets for an investing class here in Bloomington. These classes are about 2 hours, and during the day and evenings, also on the weekends. So text the word investing to the number 210-210 right now for 2 seats for an investing class. That's one for you and a friend. Text investing to the number 210-210 for 2 seats, and then you can pick your own date on the link that you're going to receive in a text back. Also, you can go to investingandtradinglive.com and pick your own date there. Al, we got a lot more to discuss on that strategy, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how to have a strategy for all-time highs. This is Josh and Al. We will be right back. So we're still live on the YouTube.
Okay. Good to know.
Today's the 26th, 28th then?
Yeah.
Yeah, gold's really surging right now. I mean, just
Yeah.
flying off the charts. Over $2,600. And silver is also surging pretty good too.
Huge.
Bigly. Warren Buffett is making billions and billions of dollars out there.
He does. He's good at that.
All right. Well, so let's talk a little bit about all-time highs and how it's the most expensive right now, but strategies for these all-time highs to and kind of paint a picture of why most people still are not the most wealthy they've ever been. Inflation, all that stuff, and what they can do to create an income strategy on top of that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
Wait a second. Shit. and wires.
Troubles there?
Hmm?
Troubles?
Yeah, that was wrapped up in wires. That was-
All right, here we go. Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Trading Academy. In the last segment, we covered some different strategy topics. You need rules within a strategy, steps. And a lot of people just go in the market and gamble, hope it works out.
Yep.
So we're trying to bridge that gap from hope to a strategy. And it takes a little bit of practice to do that. Where it starts, obviously, is you need a little bit of knowledge to do that. But knowledge will only get you so far. And that's why we have investing classes and power trading workshops right here at the Academy to get started with that knowledge on the know what, and then the know how, and then actually apply that within the markets. And that's how you build the skills actually by doing it. So if you want to get started in the markets, or if you're looking to build more consistency, maybe you need to build a retirement account, or whether it's 401k, IRA, or you're looking for another income strategy. Text the word investing to the number 210 right now for 2 seats for an investing class right here at the Academy. Or you can simply go to investingandtradinglive.com and you can pick your own date there. We have these classes on the weekends, during the week, afternoons, mornings, and evenings. So pretty much anybody can attend. Also, we're coming to a neighborhood near you. We have locations all across the metro now. I think 5 or 6 different locations. So make sure to check the landing page that you're going to get a link. So when you text the word investing to the number 210, you'll get a link, and that will give you a landing page, and then you can pick your own date there. So text investing to the number 210, or go to investingandtradinglive.com. So Al, in this segment here, I mentioned in that last segment real quick that you have all-time highs. And if you would think about it, people should have the most wealth that they've ever had. They should be the most wealthy they've ever been. But the fact of the matter is people are not. You have inflation. Things are getting more expensive. So we're seeing a lot of people that are coming to the Academy that are looking for that second income strategy, because that's actually how you build that wealth. And they want to be able to utilize the market to do that. So what are some of the techniques and strategies that the market allows for people to have that extra income strategy, to either, whether it's for income for now, or to build that wealth bucket?
Well, you have to understand that you made the comment that people should be the wealthiest that they've ever been, but they're not. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that not everybody is in the market. We look at the top 10% of the wealthiest people. The 10% of the wealthiest people in the country own 80% of the stocks, and a lot of their wealth is due to the fact that they have been in the market. So a lot of people aren't. Over 66% of the people in this country are behind on where they feel they need to be financially. So how do you catch up? How do you do that with the ability to be able to use what you have, the extra money you have, to participate in the markets? And a lot of people think, well, I can't do that because I don't have enough money. And if you're looking at the typical way of investing, which is what most people are accustomed to, and that's just buying stock. And a lot of the companies you mentioned in that first segment are very expensive. And that's one of the problems with having a stock position, is that the cost of having enough shares to actually provide a profit for you is prohibitive for a lot of people. And the other thing is that stock investing is really more long-term. So if you're looking at increasing your ability to do the things you want to do, to live the lifestyle you want, which will probably result in you having to find more income. And how do you do that? Well, tomorrow go into your boss's office and tell him he has to double your salary.
That might work.
Do not do that, folks. I was being sarcastic there.
I don't know, Al. Our listeners are listening to you, and they're taking your information and saying, hey, maybe we should try that.
Yeah, okay, so I may be getting some people coming by to visit me or giving me a phone call, but I'm telling you, don't do that, folks. But how else can you do it? Well, there are the people, that 10% that I mentioned of the wealthiest people, not only are they in the markets, the financial markets, but they have multiple sources of income.
Yeah.
And how risky is it if you only have one source of income and something happens to that income? What if you get fired, you get laid off, you get hurt? For whatever reason, your job is gone. That your income is gone with it.
That's the old acronym JOB. It's
Yeah,
just over
just
broke.
over broke.
Because when you lose that job or you leave or whatever, it doesn't matter the circumstance. Most people go broke then.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I think, the word confidence in that first segment. Well, how you have confidence in your financial situation is to have multiple sources of income. So if one goes away, it doesn't really impact you that much. Well, how do you do that in the markets? Well, because you're probably going to have to take a small amount of money to do it. You can't buy 100 shares of a stock that cost $500. That's $50,000 in one position. Most people can't do that, and you don't want to just have one position. What if you could take a small amount, maybe in the hundreds, and control something that might be worth $40,000 or $50,000? That's leverage, and I think that most people, if you want to really have an opportunity to not only generate additional income, but have the potential to create wealth down the road, you're probably going to need to learn how to trade some of these leveraged assets. And there's a number of them, and we teach them. We have instructors that trade these full time very successfully. And in the classes that you're talking about, the free class that we're inviting people to, we go over those assets. What are they, and how can you achieve? How can you use them to your benefit?
Yep.
The big institutions, the wealthy traders out there, the big banks, they're all using these leveraged assets. People like Warren Buffett. You mentioned Warren Buffett before. He uses leveraged assets. So we can show you what they are, and we can teach you how to use them and help you determine which one or which ones might be the most appropriate for you to help you reach whatever your financial goals are.
Yeah, it's really coming down to be efficient with the dollars that you do have, because we had a good discussion the other day with some folks at a talk that I was doing, and some people were in there that they probably didn't they expressed they didn't have a lot of money to trade.
Yeah.
And then when we talked about it, we said, hey, well, you do need money in the financial markets.
Sure.
Like the old saying is kind of silly, but it takes money to make money in the market, especially because you need physical dollars to trade and invest. So a lot of people say, well, I got $100 to trade. Well, that's just not enough. You need more than $100 to trade, to be quite frank with you. So a good rule of thumb is I don't care how much money you plan on using. Start as small as you can. You can get into the market, not necessarily the stock market because there's really no leverage, but you can get into some of these leveraged assets that Al's talking about. If you got at least $2,000, $4,000, $6,000 set aside, you can open these accounts and trade with them, and it's all about being efficient with those dollars. So you're not actually using the whole account size, is what a lot of people think. So people do shy away from the markets because of that. So as you mentioned, we do have these power trading workshops, especially and specifically on how to use leverage properly and safely. So that way you can be efficient with whatever dollar that you plan on using. So to come into one of these classes, simply just text the word investing to the number 210, and you're going to get a text right back with a link to our landing page, and that will bring you to a couple different times and dates. You can also go to investingandtradinglive.com, and you can pick your own date there. So go to investingandtradinglive.com, pick your own date for the investing class, and we'll make sure we get a call to you as well. So that way, we're located right here in Bloomington, but just make sure to see how are you hoping that we could help you and start that journey of what you're looking to accomplish with the financial markets. So now, Al, with these leveraged assets, you have obviously starting with stock. They're basically no leverage, we'll call it. They're technically 2-to-1 or whatever, but whoop-de-doo, right? It's not going to do anything for you. But you have these other leveraged assets. Explain real quick what those leveraged assets are, and then how you become comfortable doing something not new, just a little bit different.
Well, yeah, the leveraged assets that are available to everybody listening right now would be options. That's one. The futures market, the foreign exchange market. Those are leveraged assets. In other words, each dollar that you have in a portfolio can control an investment that is a multiple of it. With the foreign exchange market, for example, it's 50-to-1 leverage. So if you have a $2,000 account, that gives you the potential to control something worth $100,000. That's maximizing the value of your money. It's sort of like a business. If you owned a business and you had employees, and one employee came in every day and went over in the corner, laid down, and slept all day long, that person wouldn't be very productive for you.
I think a lot of people have employees or coworkers that are like that. I bet.
I think every company has one or two people like that.
And someone's listening right now and say, "Honey, we just talked about that the other day."
you
Their
can't
spouse.
you can't sleep all day long at work. You look at your dollars as an employee for you. You know, you want each dollar to be as productive as possible for you and compound over time. So learning how to use these leveraged assets is probably the best way for you to do that. Josh mentioned that it's just doing something you don't know. You haven't been exposed to it because no one's teaching it to you. It's like anything else you do. First of all, when you were born, you didn't know how to drive a car. You didn't know how to ride a bike. You didn't know how to fly a plane. Maybe you still don't. But those are things that you learn over time. A surgeon has to learn. He has to go to school. He has to be guided on how to do surgery.
Well, other than some of the leverage perks with those leveraged assets, what are some other perks you have?
Well, two of those markets, the futures market and the foreign exchange market, are open virtually round the clock, 24 hours a day.
So that gives you freedom of time.
Exactly.
So you're not stuck to just daytime hours. So that allows more people to get in the market.
Exactly.
Now, do you need to go somewhere to do this stuff, or can you do it from home or internet?
You need to go to where your phone or your computer is. That's all you need. You can go anywhere that there's an internet and you can trade.
So freedom of location as well.
Freedom of location. Look, the technology has advanced over the years to the point where us as retail traders really have an advantage over the big players. Now, they still have some advantages. One is access to information that we don't get, or we get it too late to deal with it. So the people that are going to do the best are the people that react to that information as soon as possible. And we can do that. We can just follow right along with what these institutions are doing, because when they act based on whatever they're making their decision on, which is probably, by the way, going to be a better decision than you as a retail trader would make. But if you could just find what they're doing and follow right along with them, you don't have to do all that work. You don't have to do the analysis. You don't have to spend money on getting extra research. Most traders, the public reacts based on public knowledge, not institutional knowledge. So what we want to do is just show you how to follow what the institutions are doing based on the knowledge that they kind of try to hold for themselves. And instead of listening to what you might hear on the radio or on TV, which is maybe information that's too late or just someone's opinion, why not just follow what the people that are actually moving price are doing? Because that's really the most important thing that there is when is price going to go the direction you want it to go, so you can be in at that point, and then how far is it going to go? That's the profit potential you have. And then at the same time, you have to know how to have a risk management strategy, which is the number one thing we teach.
Yep, and that's really the economic law of supply and demand. And where you find low risk, it's all about low risk, high reward, high probability entry points is going to be at or near that turn in price.
Right.
And that's what you need to identify, and that's how you find that zone, we'll call it, where institutions either could be buying or institutions could be selling, so then you can jump along with them. And so it's kind of like you're jumping on the coattails of the institutions, but it's like reading a price chart, which is like a story. Once you understand how to read that story, that's where you put odds and probabilities in your favor. And you don't have to be right every time then. That's the cool thing about the markets is you do not have to be right every single time. You just need a strategy with consistency. And we illustrate and teach that strategy as far as what that concept is in these power trading workshops that we do right here at the Academy. To come into one of these classes, they're about 2 hours long during the day, during the evening, weekends, weekdays. And these classes, Al teaches these, I teach these as well. We have a good time with good folks helping people make smarter investing decisions. So to come into this class, simply just text the word investing to the number 210 for 2 seats. You're going to get a link right back, and that'll be one for you and a friend. or you can go to investingandtradinglive.com and you can pick your own date there. So just text the word investing to the number 210-210 or investingandtradinglive.com and you can pick your own date there as well. Coming up next, stay tuned. We got a lot more to discuss on retirement accounts, how to build that, but also to protect that because markets are at all-time highs. This is Josh and Al, Investing and Trading Live. We will be right back. Boy, it was much easier when we had our producer that was doing all this for us.
I know.
We could just sit there and talk, and they did all the recording and everything.
Yep. Yeah, and smoothed it out for us.
Yeah. Made us sound beautiful. I mean, I already look beautiful like Brad Pitt. You know how that works.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I have to remember that we're still alive.
Yeah, we are still alive.
Be careful about what I say about your comments.
Keep your comments to yourself. It's a good thing since we are on YouTube, they do know that I do look like Brad Pitt.
You just have insulted the intelligence of everybody listening right now.
All right. What do we got here? 1150? 1050. So we'll get into some retirement accounts, some retirement strategies, different strokes for different folks that want to improve whatever they're trying to improve financially. All right, segment 3, here we go. Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Trading Academy. As always, I am your host, Josh Lilquist, with my good friend and my good pal, Mr. Al Connick, and he's dropping some knowledge on the do's and the don'ts of the financial markets, whether you're trading stocks, options, futures, Forex, income accounts, or retirement accounts. And that'll be the topic of this segment here today is retirement accounts and strategies for those all-time highs. And on the last segment, we did talk about those income strategies with using those income assets. And it's all about using leverage or having capital efficiency with your dollars and having your dollars go further for you, just like anything that we do in our everyday life. A good example actually is most people probably use a credit card. So it's kind of,
they sure do.
It's kind of, yeah, there's with the credit card debt out there. It's kind of like that same concept because your dollars are going further.
Yep.
You can use them and then pay it off over time. You're not necessarily paying something off over time in the markets, but it's being able to get into positions you normally wouldn't be able to with the stock market.
Yeah, it's kind of a concept of using other people's money. It's like
Yep.
a mortgage, like a credit card, any kind of a loan you have.
And any smart person, especially institutions, banks, Buffetts of the world, they're all doing it. And all these strategies, they're all available for us as well. So
Right.
that's the great thing. And we bring that up and shed some light on that in these power trading workshops that we do right here at the Academy and at locations all across the metro here. To come into one of these classes, simply just text the word investing to the number 210-210. That'll be for 2 seats, one for you and one for a friend. Text the word investing to the number 210-210 or go online to the old interweb, and you can do this on your phone, investingandtradinglive.com, and you can pick your own date there. So in this next segment here, as I mentioned, I want to talk about those retirement strategies because markets are at all-time highs. You look at the S&P 500. We kicked off the show talking about that being at all-time highs. You have the NASDAQ not quite there. The Dow is there. The Russell is lagging back quite some distance. But so the major markets are looking pretty good right now. But a lot of people have stock in their portfolio, and those are not all necessary at all-time highs. There's a lot that are not. So you would think people would be the most wealthy that they have ever been right now. But the fact of the matter is they're not. And I think you said 66% of people
Are behind.
are behind
Right.
on retirement. That's every 2 out of every 3.
It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. So, and if you think about the concept of what we're told to do from a young age, go to school, get a good job, get a 401k, and you're going to be a billionaire by the time you're 62. Retirement age used to be that 65. I think it's 67 now. They keep raising it. I don't even know what it is. They keep changing it. Now, the problem is if everybody's told to go do that, and if 66% of the people, 2 out of 3 people, do not have enough, there might be something wrong with that. So now it's time, hopefully we can open that brain up and think a little bit differently here. Because if you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing, you're going to be in that same boat when you get to retirement. Some of you are probably listening right now in your 50s and 60s, be like, oh crap, that's me. But the problem is it's not your fault unless you don't do anything about it. So hopefully we can inspire you to think a little bit differently and then start to learn the strategies to do a little bit differently. So let's talk about some of those strategies right now, Al. Is if you feel right now that you're behind on retirement and you need to speed that up a little bit, and rather than just buying and hoping it works out, Al, what are some of the strategies that you can apply and the right assets to be able to do that in those retirement accounts, whether it's an IRA or 401k?
Yeah, if you're behind, which a high percentage of people are, there. By the way, there's about 30 million retirement accounts in this country with an average return of about $94,000. And that includes some retirement accounts of people like Warren Buffett or the hedge funds that might have billions of dollars in it.
Yeah.
So the average person is far behind. And one of the reasons, well, a couple of reasons. One, I mentioned before that not everybody is in the market. The wealthiest people are, not everybody is. So you have to have exposure to the markets if you're going to make it through what now could be 20 or 30 or maybe even 40 years in retirement. So that's huge, to be in the market. The other thing to consider is the impact of inflation. You mentioned a couple of times now how high these markets are. That is the case. And people, even the people that are in the market that have seen their portfolios grow, they haven't seen their wages grow to beat inflation. And that's had and will have a huge impact on people's ability to live. We're seeing, a lot of people that thought they were going to retire now say that they don't have any plans to retire. They just can't afford that extra number of years that they have to live. The world of medicine has done a fantastic job of increasing our lifespan. The financial world has done a terrible job of having people prepared for it. So some of the things that we've already talked about, like options and futures in the foreign exchange market, you can use those in retirement. Even if you have a retirement portfolio that is far, far short of where it needs to be, you can use those assets sort of like looking at the markets, the financial markets. And that does, when we talk about the financial markets, we're not just talking about the stock market. We're talking about all of them, the stock market, the futures market, the Forex market, the options market, the cryptocurrency market, the real estate market, all of those, that's all part of the financial markets. And all of those are available to you if you know how to do this properly. It used to be years ago, like when my dad and probably your dad or your grandparents, when they retired, they had a pension. And that pension gave them a guaranteed income. They didn't really have to worry that much because then they also got a little boost from Social Security. What has changed? What has changed is that most people don't have a pension plan anymore. Social Security is at a critical point where by the year 2023, 2035, the government's only going to be able to pay out maybe 70% of the benefits. So that's going to have a huge impact on people. So and you have no control over that.
Yeah.
You can't control the fact that you don't have a pension. You can't control what happens to Social Security. So what can you control? Your individual investments. And you have to learn how to do that if you want to have a secure, comfortable retirement.
Well, here's an interesting thing here is, and you can get any information online, the average Social Security benefit for workers that retired in 2024, do you know what it is?
It's about $18,000 a year, somewhere in that range.
Close. It's $22,000 per year, which is $1,900 per month. You can't live off that.
Right.
You just Unless you have zero house payment, zero bills, and then you want to eat ramen noodles and do nothing.
Yeah, and just remember now, if something isn't done to shore up Social Security, you can take that number and reduce it by about 25 to 30%.
Yeah. And they say it's going to be insolvent by 2035.
Right.
Fact of the matter is, who knows? It might still be, they might save it, who knows? But you can't rely on just Social Security. So if you're in your 50s right now, and that if you have that average of, what was it, 94,000 is
Right.
the average American retirement account, you might want to think about doing things a little bit differently, but you got to start now.
Yeah, especially when the financial advisors now are saying you might need over $2 million to really retire comfortably. And you remember, that's got to take you through another 20, 30, possibly 40 years.
Well, it's really simple math if you think about it, because whatever your salary is right now, whatever you make per year, if you're still working and you're living off that, that's pretty much what you're going to need to live off every year, roughly, for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And if you don't have 2 million, 1 million, or a lump sum coming in, you're going to probably either go back to work because you have to, or continue to work. And I know, I mean, I've been working with a lot of people lately that don't want to fall into that category. So they're actually, it's great. They're being proactive right now. They're being proactive in starting their investing if they've never done it before. But even if they have those retirement accounts started and they're a little behind, they're saying, hey, you know what? Now is the time to buckle down. What my dad would say, time to buckle down on your finances, son. You know, and that's what he used to say when I was a kid, right? So that's what people are trying to do now, is trying to buckle down on their finances and prepare and being a little bit proactive. So when they get to retirement, which could be 2 to 5 years down the road for a lot of people listening right now, hopefully you have one of two things. One, either that bucket built up enough, or two, have an income strategy, maybe through the market. That would be an opportunity, so you don't have to draw that whole thing down right away. So hopefully you can continue to replenish that, or not even have to use it, because we're seeing a lot of people that want to leave a legacy for their families,
Right.
and not just use everything, be able to help their family out, their kids, maybe not the kids. No, normally it's the grandkids these days. So, but you got to start. You got to start today. So I'm going to invite you to an investing class strictly on retirement accounts, how to create them using leverage, how to do things if you feel like you're behind. And if you have questions on those retirement accounts, and a lot of people just don't know what they are and what you can access with them, bring those questions in,
Right.
and we can answer these for you during these classes. Simply to come into one of these investing classes on retirement accounts, just text the word investing to the number 210-210. That'll be for 2 seats for an investing class, one for you and a friend. Text investing to the number 210-210. When you do that, you're going to get a text right back with a link to our landing page. When you do that, make sure to pick your own date in that landing page. You can also go online to investingandtradinglive.com, and you can pick your own date there. It's the title of the show, Investing and Trading Live. Also, we appreciate our subscribers. The podcast has been surging online on Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify. So just follow the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. So coming up next, we have a little more to discuss. Got another segment on the show. Stay tuned. This is Josh and Al. We will be right back. Should we talk about what it takes to be a trader or investor? Maybe a little bit on capital, a little bit on time. Just because I think a lot of people don't really know what they need. You want to try that?
Sure.
All right. 11:40. Alrighty, here we go. Get this bad boy going. What's the average retirement account? 94,000.
94,000. That number changes all the time too. It depends on who's reporting those numbers. Because a lot of the companies will look at their own clients and report the numbers based on their own clients. But it's close. It's close to that. It's around there. Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live. As always, I am your host, Josh Lilquist. In the last segment, we covered some wealth strategies. The average retirement balance, depending on what source you're looking at, is right around $94,000. And we're seeing a lot of folks that are coming to these investing classes that want to be able to continue to build that. Some are well over that, and a few are under that. So they need to speed that up. And there's assets that are designed for that. Based on what account sizes you have, you can get into. There are different vehicles is what they are. So it's just imperative to be in the right vehicle to get to whatever goal or objective that you do have financially. So we have investing classes strictly on these retirement accounts, and we had a lot of people texting in. Congratulations to those that did that. If you missed seats for that investing class, you can simply just text the word investing to the number 210 right now for 2 seats. When you do that, you're going to get a text right back, and it'll be a link to the landing page. All you got to do is click the link and pick your own date and time for that investing class, whether it's here at the Academy in Bloomington or at a neighborhood near you. We're going all across the metro. We have several locations where we do these investing classes. So simply just text the word investing to the number 210. Also, please follow the podcast, Investing and Trading Live, wherever you listen to podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. I say this every week. We're looking to make this the #1 global financial podcast to help listeners make smarter investing decisions and just be in the know with the opportunities that are available. And all you got to do is search on how to engage with them. And that's why we have these investing classes. So you can also go to investingandtradinglive.com for seats for that investing class. I've also some little more information on the show here as well. So in this last segment here, Al, there's a kind of a misconception about the markets, in my opinion, on how first, most people don't really know how they work, and that's kind of the first part of these investing classes and in these power trading workshops that we do here, is we pull back the curtain on how the market works and a lot of the conditioning that happens out there. But there's also misconceptions on what you actually need to accomplish certain things in the markets, whether it's time, your schedule, the capital that you plan on allocating. So you actually dictate all of that. It's it's actually the opposite of your normal job. Because here's what most people's normal job is. You're required to come in at certain times to a certain place every single day. So you have no freedom of time or location. But also, think about this for a second. Your employer is telling you your net worth. So that's kind of a problem, in my opinion, because there's no freedom there. And a lot of people are looking for that freedom of time, location, and money. So let's unpack that out. What are some of the things that they can do as far as what do you need to accomplish whatever objective that someone is looking at in the markets, whether it's time, schedule, or capital?
Yeah, I'm going to add one more thing, one more negative to what you just said about having a job, because every time you go to work and you make money, you're making money for a whole bunch of other people that are above you too. If you're a trader, if you are trading, every dollar you make, every profit you have is yours. You keep 100% of it. But a couple things that I want to comment on. Everybody's a little bit different, and unfortunately, most financial advisors will have a plan that is based on certain things that they apply to everybody. And that's not the way to do it. There is not a one size fits all. Everybody is an individual. And unfortunately, a lot of the things that people are using now are obsolete. You mentioned before the advice that most people got from their parents. And I remember my dad saying this exactly what you said. You go to school, you get good grades, get a good job, put 10% of your money in the bank every time you get a paycheck and you'll be just fine. That's obsolete. That does not work. It did not work. It's not going to work. And a lot of the strategies that people are using now are obsolete, to be honest with you. So one of the things that we'll cover in these classes is a different way of doing this, a different way of looking at your retirement assets and finding out what the number is that's right for you, because everybody's is different. Not everybody needs $2 million or $3 million or $1 million. So let's figure out what you need to live, what you want your retirement to look like, and then how do you get there? What's the best way to get there? And it may mean using one of the assets that we're talking about. It certainly is going to mean protecting your assets and being able to take advantage of every direction the market can go. And how many directions is that? It's three.
Three, up, down, and sideways.
Yeah, and if you're not benefiting in all three directions, you are only potentially benefiting in one direction. That's one out of three. That's not good odds. In the Wall Street firms that have convinced you that you need them, they're making money all three directions. They're making money off of you when the market's going down and when the market's going sideways, but you're not benefiting there in most cases.
Here's an example. If the market is going three directions, up, down, and sideways, you're basically going in circles as if you're going in just one direction. Just like a vehicle. Vehicles go forward, vehicles go backwards, and people are listening probably like, how do vehicles go sideways? Well, the Hummer goes sideways. It's called the crab walk on the Hummer. I don't know if you've seen that before, but the Hummer does go sideways. So you need that strategy, because same thing with your car. You need to go in reverse at some point. Well, that's the same thing in the markets. You need a strategy for up markets. You need a strategy for down markets. Options is a great strategy for sideways markets.
Perfect.
So now you have more odds, but the big word is probabilities to get to where you need to be financially. So when you're doing that, Al, and let's talk about time for a second, because people think you got to be glued to your computer screen, and that's kind of a misconception. The movies kind of show that, but remember, these movies are from the 70s and 80s, right? Maybe even the 90s. What is a realistic expectation, without giving an exact of time that you need to put into this, just based off of market hours?
Yeah, actually, it's not only a misconception that you have to sit in front of your computer all day long. It is exactly the wrong thing to do. What you want to do, and this may be the most important thing to being successful, is managing your emotions. And if you're watching what you do, if you make an investment in something, that your emotions change. And you're going to do things that you shouldn't do if you're watching what happens. So what we want to do is show you how to do this in a way where you can preset a trade. First of all, you have to identify if there is a trade to make on a certain asset at the time you're looking at it, and where is that? Where is that position? Because the price you pay to enter something is the most important thing. That's going to dictate the quality of your protection and also determine the amount of profit that you can make. So if you're using a strategy that's following the people that actually have enough money to move price, and you can make that right choice, you have a trade or investment set with your entry price, your protection if you're wrong, with by the way, a small loss. You never want to have a big loss, and you have to have a strategy that provides that result. And then also your profit is protected. Now you just turn your computer up, go out and play golf, or go walk around the lake, or do whatever you want to do, whatever you enjoy doing, knowing that you're protected, knowing that your trade will be automatically taken care of by your trading platform. If you're right on the price, you're in the trade. If you're wrong, you're out of it with a small loss. If you're right, you're not only in it, but your profit is protected, and the software does the work for you. You can't look at those things and not let your emotions get in the way of you being successful.
Yep. And if you're unsure about what some of the things that we're talking about are, that's the whole point of these investing classes and power trading workshops that we're hosting here right at the Academy, several per week. We get a lot of people that are coming into these. It feels like people right here in the metro and actually all across the country at other locations. I don't know if everybody's listening to the show or what, but everybody's showing up to these classes because it's important, I feel, to people. So you do need that strategy. You can pick your own time. You pick your own dates. You pick your own capital. You dictate all that in the market. And then, as Al was alluding to, how you become confident but also consistent is having being protected on both ends, and you let it work for you. Remove those emotions in the financial markets, and that's the number one key, is to do that and trade and invest without any bias or emotions. So Al, it's getting close to the end of the show, and we've had a lot of people calling in and texting in for these investing classes that we're doing right here at the Academy. And I want to give away one last set of tickets for that. And you can come into these investing classes simply by just texting the word investing to the number 210 210. You're going to get a text right back when you do that. And that'll be a link with our landing page. It's pretty simple. Text investing to the number 210 210. And that'll be 2 seats, one for you and one for a friend. You can also go online, just go to our website, go to investingandtradinglive.com, and you can pick your own date there. We got the calendar up right there, and there's actually a picture of an investing class, so you can actually see what it looks like at the Academy here. So text investing to the number 210 210, or go to investingandtradinglive.com and pick your own date there. We've had a good discussion today about income strategies, retirement strategies, the do's, the don'ts, but also the reality of the market and people. Let's hear today's OTA tip of the week.
Well, the primary thing that keeps people from getting what they want, in other words, their goals and their dreams, is the story they keep telling themselves. Basically, I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm just not as lucky as other people. Well, you need to believe in yourself to be able to have a chance to achieve success. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, and you don't take any action to achieve it, why would you think it's going to become a reality? It simply won't. You have to start with a single action. That's the first step. We always talk about that. You can't always and almost never can wait for the perfect moment, the perfect time. You have to create it.
I like that. And it's that old quote, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. But why not get started and dip your toe in the water and at least make an attempt? Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. The first thing is come into these investing classes. Text investing to the number 210 210. Follow the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. That's on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify. You can also watch the YouTube live. This is live on the YouTube stream. Just go to Josh Lilquist on YouTube. As always, same time, same place next week. Until then, retire young, my friends.